All right, daily routine. Second portion is to deal with the to-dos. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at all to-dos for my jobs, update to-do status and assignees. This happens after schedules because the schedule items determine the due dates, and so we want to make sure we modify the schedule first, and then modify the to-dos that are associated with them, so that we're not. Otherwise, we may introduce some double work. So I'm going to still again in my save filter for Lars production, and I'm going to hit to dos. And so here there are a couple filters, and by default I'm just in standard because I want to see every to do for every single person on my jobs. I don't, as a project manager, it's helpful to see the things that are assigned to me, sure, but that list is going to be much shorter than the list of what everybody is supposed to be up to. And as a manager, we need to know what everyone's up to on our jobs. So I'll see any of my tasks as well as the scope of work to dos for the guys in the field. So my next run through is to look at anything that's past due. So in this case, it's placeholder docs. I'm waiting on some structural engineering. I'm waiting on a finalized architectural for the Von Manowski job. So it's past due, but I'm not too worried about it because there's nothing I can do. And once those come in, I'll be sure to replace those. Scope of work touch-up paint. It's not due yet because the schedule item has been set for later this week. So this is what I want to see. I want to make sure that nothing is past due. And if it is past due, I want to ask myself why, or is that the appropriate place for that to do to be? Because for the guys in the field, their filter is here. This scope of work filter, or even more, it's going to be the house labor filter. And so I want to make sure that they're not looking at a bunch of red here, and if there is any red, that it's actually past due, actually a priority, and is the first thing on top of their list. So this looks pretty good. This is also where I'm going to line out what the guys are supposed to be doing in specifics. So if I look into scope of work cabinet touch-up paint, I'm going to see that I'm asking them to address paint beside the panel fridge, the bench top, and the drawer below the microwave. And then if I look into the house punch list for the same job, we'll see some other items that are waiting on that punch list. Very, very specific task lists. I don't like to get on the phone and send a list and then have to go back to that list from yesterday, copy it again, remove some things. I do all of it here in BT, and this allows me to stay pretty flexible and cut down on phone call conversations. So inside each of these scope of works, there's some details. Sometimes not a lot. Sometimes we don't have all the information we need. But as much as possible, I fill these out, especially for the subcontractors. This allows me, whenever I fill out these subcontractors' scope of work to dos, this allows me to remove myself from the equation, because whenever, let's say the plumber's going over there, I can't meet him. All I need to do is give Paul this list, and we've got a fighting chance of getting these things addressed without me necessarily being there to line out the subcontractor. So having these lists built out, and they're all related to schedule items, is very helpful. And the due dates are dependent on the schedule items as well. So you'll notice that this is due 0 days before. So the day that plumbing demo starts, this to do is due. All right, what's next? Update to do status and assignees. Check personal to dos. So first I'm looking at everything in the job, and then I'm going to run the filter for assigned to me. Make sure that I'm up to date and I have an idea of what all these things are that are coming down the line. And then add house labor tags to to-dos. We kind of touched on this already, but I want to make sure that everything that's in this standard filter, if the house labor tag isn't applied to it, all right, so if my house labor tag isn't applied to this QC interior demolition, then my guys in the field, I can't expect them to look for this. So if I want this to get taken care of by house labor, I'm going to hit house labor tag, apply it to do QC interior demolition. Now whenever I go to run my house labor tag, we'll see that QC demolition is now inside their list. So everything in this list has that house labor tag. So what this means is whenever I line out tasks for my in-house guys, I don't really assign individual to-dos to the people because if, let's say it's Francisco, I have to move him from Von Manowski to another job. I don't want to have to come in here and remove Francisco's name and then apply Paul's name. I don't want to do that. I just want to say these are the tasks that are getting taken care of in-house. This allows me to send any warm body to any job site and have them have a clue of what they're supposed to do and what the expectations are. So that context is helpful, and it saves on the data entry and gives me flexibility to leave the house without worrying about if everyone knows what they're supposed to be doing when they're supposed to be doing it. So, and then obviously I'll build out any scope of work lists that haven't been built yet. So if you create a schedule item, like the cabinet touch-up paint, I created a schedule item called cabinet touch-up paint, and then I had to go and separately create the to-do scope of work cabinet touch-up paint to fill in those details. And so that's my next thing, and that brings us to the end of section 2 for daily routines.